So I want to welcome Sandy Homrich. She is here and she has an incredible story. She started telling me her story, and I said, "Oh my goodness, we need to do an interview." So Sandy was born in Cuba and she left there when she was 8 years old with her family, and she can tell us the details of how they were able to get out. And then in her 20s, she dove into the world of bodybuilding, and she chased health through discipline and physique. And then in her 30s, everything changed, and she became a mom of two beautiful girls. And she started paying attention to her food and what they're doing and toxic issues around their environment. She hated cooking, but learned to cook everything from scratch. And she started sharing her story online on Instagram quickly to for other moms to be able to do the same. So she has created a great online community, a lifestyle of anti-inflammatory lifestyles that helps people heal. And she feels better than she did even in her 20s. So thank you so much for coming. How are you
Welcome.
today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, well, first of all, what do you remember most about your life in Cuba before your family left?
Gosh, so that was a very long time ago, 30 years ago, almost to the date. I remember quite a bit actually. So even though I left at 8, we went back to visit almost every year until I was about 18 or 19 and went off to college. But my parents continued to go back. All of our family is still there. My grandmother just recently passed. She was 99. Lovely life.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but what I remember the most, honestly, was my dad had us a PhD in economics, and he ran all the sugar plantains for the communist government. And so we lived a very good life the first few years of my life. If you worked for the communist government, you live very well, as opposed to the regular people. They are pretty much starving and living in poverty.
Wow.
When my dad realized that the government was so corrupt, and he kind of had a vision, which not a lot of people have, because you can't leave the island. So he just pretty much saw everything kind of crumbling, even though he was living well. He didn't think that would last very long, and I think he was right. And so he started trying to figure out how to get us to leave and how to creatively, bring us to America without obviously throwing his family on a boat, which most people were doing in the 90s. And so I just remember like the struggles he went through to quit this cushy government job and then try to provide for his family in a big way. And so, if you know anything about Cuba, you can't own your own business, you can't be an entrepreneur. And he like pretty much has that in his blood, as I do too now. But he would have a lot of businesses that were illegal. Like he would make ham and do that in a shed. He would make moonshine. He would sell the Old Navy flip-flops that my aunt would bring him a whole suitcase full of them, the dollar ones that were good in the 90s that were trendy. And he would try to sell those without getting caught by the police. And he often went to jail for just having a business.
He
So,
went to jail?
yeah, you would go to jail. Eventually, he made a lot of money and he would pay off the chief of police. So he wouldn't turn him in for having a business, which is bizarre. But I lived a really crazy life even in those 8 years. And I saw my dad do a lot of creative, really cool things just to survive, really, and basically to save our lives and get us out of there.
Wow, that's incredible. So how did he get you out of Cuba?
It's very creative. It's very legal, but very creative. So in the 90s, I don't know if you remember the television shows that in the news, you would see a lot of Cubans like in the boats trying to like touch land. And there was a law, I think Obama like, took that off right before he went out of presidency. But if you if you came here on a boat and you touched land, you would get to stay in the United States and you are a political refugee. Now, if you got caught, you got back to Cuba and you were sent to jail. Horrific time for a long time, but as soon as you were done, you got to take your whole family out of the country because the communist government kicks you out, and you get to come to America as a political refugee. All very legal, all on a plane. You come here, they take you in, you are exiled from your country because you're a traitor, and you get to take your entire family, whoever lives in your home. My parents were neither of those things, but my dad, again, was very creative, super smart man. We had a lot of money because he had a lot of those illegal businesses we talked about.
Right.
And so he was able to pay a notary to backdate my mom's in his divorce, essentially fake marry a political refugee on one side, and my mom married another, and he adopted me, and then we both came on a plane here and met here 15 days apart.
Oh my goodness.
All of that took like 5 years.
That took 5 years for that to happen. But you
Mhm.
guys were only apart for,
Like 15 days, really. My dad got here first
oh,
with the one family, and then the other man who married my mom, who was like a drunk and a gambler. And my dad just like supported his habit until we got on the plane and he got us here. And then we just all parted ways. They remarried, all the all the
so
things. We
they
came
did
here with
have to
nothing.
actually divorce and then they remarried.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I had to be in an interview. I think I was like 6 at the time when I got interviewed by an American at the embassy, and they asked me who my mommy slept with, and my dad had coached me and said, "You need to point to this man because they're going to ask you."
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Creative, very creative. He saved our lives, really. I mean, it would. I don't know where I would be, honestly.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Well, one of the things is we connected. I told you I loved homeopathy, and you said that you had an incredible story about your life and using homeopathy in Cuba. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so when I was 4 months old, I had bacterial meningitis in Cuba. So I almost died. I was in the ICU or the NICU, I guess they would call it there, for like 20 days. They shaved my head. I was having like antibiotic infusions through my head because my little tiny veins couldn't handle it.
My
Really
goodness.
traumatic experience from my mom, as she describes it. But I had bacterial meningitis, and then after that, there could be a lot of deficits. So like I could be blind, deaf, etc. I had none of those things.
Sandy, just a second. I'm sorry. I just realized I did not push something.
Oh,
We're
okay,
gonna have
that's
to
okay.
start. I'm so
That's okay.
sorry. We're gonna have to
That's
start.
okay.
Okay. I was so busy. Okay. I didn't start the recording. I don't
And
believe.
mine says this meeting is being recorded.
Okay, then it is. Okay, it is. Keep
Okay,
going. Sorry.
no worries. So I had a lot of potential deficits with my bacterial meningitis, but I had none of those things. However, I think my immune system was like shot after that. So I was always like the sick kid. And I had I was terribly ill and on antibiotics for probably like the first 4 years of my life. And my mom was just so tired of it. We lived in a really small, tiny town in the middle of the country, pretty far away from the capital where like all of the higher tech things, if you will, are. We didn't have a car, we didn't even have a bike. So we had to take many buses. My mom had heard of this doctor in the capital. There was a holistic doctor, and she was desperate. So she took me to him. He basically gave me iodine and what she describes as a couple of vials of tinctures. And she said that that like cured me. I was done with antibiotics. I was like a healthy kid again.
Wow.
Yeah, so she remembers that pretty vividly that that was like the turning point for my health. So yeah, I was getting intramuscular antibiotics probably once a week
Wow.
before that. Yeah.
Okay. And it was homeopathy that they used then?
Yeah, he was a homeopath, and she remembers iodine very clearly because she thought that was crazy. And then she just
Right.
remembers like a lot of tinctures that
Okay.
he would give me, and that really just cured me.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so glad you're here and that your mom took that initiative. Wow.
Me too.
That's a lot when you don't have a vehicle or anything. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was going to ask, how did your experiences in Cuba influence the way you see health and freedom today?
So a lot, actually. So my grandmother, who again just recently passed away at 99, she was a big influence. I remember this woman always had an herb in her mouth. Like if we ever had a tummy ache, she would just shove a big glob of green something in her mouth. And she
Wow.
was always munching on something. She died at 99, no like diseases, like no chronic diseases, not even high blood pressure.
Oh,
Yeah, really incredible. So she was always like the picture of health for me in that sense. Um, Stomach ache, cold, anything, she would have a plant. So that always kind of stuck with me. And then also when you have nothing, you have to do, they're really going back to like the old ways because the pharmacies in Cuba are empty. You can't even get an aspirin. So those ways haven't died. Where here we're so over medicated, and like even my 6 year old will be like, "Oh, my tummy hurts." I'm like, "Well, it's fine that your tummy hurts. We can move on past that. You don't need a pill. You don't need any medicine sometimes. You just the body needs to just kind of heal." And so that's where Cuba is. Their pharmacies are empty, and so they still have these ancient, like my mom remembers, for some remedies, she would boil rice in that water, or she would boil the skin of a plantain, and that water would do this or this. And so those things are lost for us, and I'm really excited to like keep those things going. Like I always say, I have a plant for anything. Like now it's not an actual plant, but it may be like a couple pellets, but we're gonna go that route first.
Wow, that's wonderful. I love that. And you're right, we are losing some of that. So that's why some of my passion is to give that to our kids and teach them so they know they don't have to use a pill for everything, right? Okay, so what drew you into bodybuilding in your 20s?
Okay, so I'm pretty type A. I've always been a highly motivated human. I met my husband who is the same or more. And so he's very disciplined. And so when we met, I've always been pretty athletic, but not to that level. Um, so when we met, he's a rigorous, like working out guy. He has a muscle split and all the things. And so when we met, I fell in love with the gym, just training with him. And then I think right before I was like 28, wanting, turning 30 kind of seemed like a big milestone. And so I wanted to push my body to a limit that I've never experienced. And so I signed up for a bodybuilding show as a natural one. So we couldn't take drugs.
Okay,
And
good.
they give you a lie detector. If you fail, you can't compete. So I wanted to do a natural bodybuilding show and I wanted to just take my body to, the next level. And I really enjoyed the prep because it was very rigid and very disciplined, which I respond to. And so, yeah, I did a bodybuilding show. I won first place in my class and then second overall. I was a little disillusioned because so I'm very muscular and like my legs are very muscular, my arms. So like I'm thinking bodybuilding, I need to be muscular. Well, in that world, skinny trumps muscle. And so I looked ginormous compared to these women who were just like very, very thin. Uh,
Really?
and so, yeah, it was really kind of crazy. I don't belong in that world. I don't know how women do that. I didn't have a cycle for like 4 months because you're very depleted.
Right.
It was really
Wow.
cool. It was a very cool experience. The show day was hard. It was like 11 hours in heels, like 5-inch heels.
Oh,
Um, but I did like the discipline. That was very cool.
interesting. Okay. So you mentioned that everything changed when you became a mom. What was the moment that sparked that shift?
So I had I had a 4-year-old at the time when all of this kind of started for me. And the snack culture in this country is like out of control in my mind. My kid
Yes.
would run to the pantry and just like rummage through
Right.
things. Here I am running to Sprouts like 3 times a week to get the cleaner things, right? And I was still not as clean as I am today. I think some people would call me extreme today, which I don't see it. I just feel like we're living in a way that like in our house, our bodies are a machine, like given by
Right.
God, and we wanna honor that. So back then I wasn't there, but I was still like kind of aware. And so I was trying to get the cleaner options, but I was spending like hundreds of dollars a week, like with what I was doing. And then my kids were like rummaging. And that, every time we get in the car, I want a snack. And that really drove me nuts. And so I'm a cold turkey kind of person. So one day I was like, we're done. We're not buying any more packaged snacks. You want a Pop-Tart? Mommy's gonna make it. I don't know how because I didn't know how to cook or bake, but I was gonna figure it
Right.
out. So yeah, that really was like the breaking point for me. And I sat down my almost 4-year-old at the time and I said, we're done with, if you want a snack at the store, mommy can make it for you. We're gonna figure it out together. And
Wow.
that was it. And we never went back. So no more Z bars in our house. I made them.
We're the same way, so we're very similar to you. Okay. So what are your favorite simple swaps for families who want to start eating cleaner and not use as much of the packaged foods?
Okay. So, I mean, we're living in a world where like there's hundreds of recipes out there. My top 3 things that I would like swap in your home are your oils. So I tend to just do coconut oil and butter in our home. You could toss the veggie oils and things like I will still pull up recipes on Pinterest and it says canola. I'm like, we're not doing that anymore. So switch the
Right.
oils. Coconut oil is incredible. Actually, it's a cancer fighting agent. Like
Yes.
there's a ton of research that so we put coconut oil on anything we can. It's anti-inflammatory. Which is another thing that I'm really passionate about is lowering inflammation in our bodies. So that's like 2 for 1 there. And so then your flour, I have been getting in trouble a lot on the internet for saying that sourdough is bad. And I have to specify every time that not all sourdough is bad, but how we're being sold that just sourdough in general is great for you. That's not true because if you're still using the organic King Arthur flour, you're still going to inflame your body. That stuff is depleted of nutrients. It's super highly processed, even though it's stamped with organic and unbleached. That means very little. So unless you're going back to like those ancient grains like incorn, kamut, or even just like milling your own flour, I think you could probably get a better result that way. Then that's where you're gonna find that good gut health. Otherwise, it was crushing me. I was making sourdough every single day, and I was like not even living. I was like that tired mom life thing. So, yeah, so switch your flours. I only bake with Acorn. Jovial is a brand that I really love, and they've been tested for like glyphosate and lead and things like that, and it's free of all those things. So, Acorn is a beautiful flour. You can get packaged. You don't have to like mill your own. So it actually has like minerals and even some protein, which I'm always like impressed by that.
Right.
And then your sugars, like toss out that white sugar. We don't own that. So if I wanted to make like the good stuff, I couldn't make it. So we do a lot of raw honey maple syrup and coconut sugar. So that stuff doesn't spike your glucose index and end up giving your kids that wild energy and it's not highly processed. So just like natural sugars. Those are the three things I would definitely switch in our home if I were starting over.
I love that. And I have had to move away from sourdough. We have some and we do it occasionally. Usually my husband now pulls it out, but I used to do it on a regular basis, even because I even grind my own and everything.
Oh
But
yeah.
yes, it was causing inflammatory issues for me in the long run. And I'm like, I know, but it's supposed to be healthy.
Oh,
So we
it's
do it
so
for
good.
special treats now, but
I
we don't
know.
use it as much as we used to, which was hard.
It is
Okay,
really hard.
so I love how you talked about the anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So if someone feels overwhelmed with starting healthier habits, what are some steps that you would encourage them to do today?
So this might be like extreme. If you want something a little more mild, we can have like those steps. But I was living a super clean life. Like,
Sorry, go ahead.
okay. Oh, there you go. Okay. Sorry, start over.
Yes, sorry, it did freeze.
Okay, that's okay. So as far as anti-inflammatory, I would suggest to go straight to, especially if you're having a lot of symptoms, I would suggest going straight to an anti-inflammatory protocol, which is what I've done in the past, I don't know, 3, 4 months, and it's changed my life. And as someone who, my home is completely non-toxic, there is not a single stone left unturned here. That's taken me years, so it's not like a one and done thing, but all of our products are non-toxic, our soap, anything we put on our bodies and our skin, everything. It's perfection. I was eating great. I still felt awful, which just blew my mind. Like I had probably 10 or 15 extra pounds on my body that I could not get rid of. Even though I was working out a ton, I was eating super well. I would go into those calorie deficits from my bodybuilding days. Nothing worked. I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was wearing a fat suit and I would wake up every morning and like my hips would hurt, my back would hurt, my neck would hurt. Um, I in my mom's circles, we would talk about it, and it's like so normalized. Like, oh, well, that's just like what is being a mom. I'm like, this is miserable. This
It's
can't be
not
normal.
fun.
Like, I can't live like this. I felt like I was 80 years old, and I'm not even 40. So I drilled down even further into my holistic journey with the anti-inflammatory protocol. And it's basically a diet that you take out everything that could potentially inflame. And so you just kind of strip your meals down completely to lots of beef, lots of sweet potato, lots of coconut oil. So you take out everything that could potentially be inflammatory. That goes with seasonings, veggies, like very, very specific for 30 days and you eat that way for 30 days, you have to open up those detox pathways. So lots of sweating, lots of like lymphatic drainage massage. So I would be in the sauna every day, just like pouring sweat, and it would smell.
Right.
So in 30 days, actually in 5 days into that journey, I looked like somebody had taken a pin and like deflated me. And probably 15 days in, I felt like I was 20 again, like in the best ways. And at 30 days, I started reintroducing things slowly. That's when I realized that sourdough just destroyed me. I had a piece of sourdough. My menstrual cycle was 3 weeks late, which freaked me out. I thought about women with PCOS, endometriosis, women who can't conceive with fertility issues. I'm like, if I don't have a period, I can't have a baby.
Right.
And that was from one bite of sourdough. That just like
That's
blew
interesting.
my mind. I felt nauseous. I felt ill, like I had the flu immediately. And then my cycle was supposed to come and it didn't for 3 weeks.
Wow, that's
That
interesting.
happened in my 38 years of life. So I went through that and that was really eye-opening. And that's how I live my life now. Like my body is a machine and it is going to be fed only the best of things. If I go out to eat, then I make sure that I can have a steak cooked in, and some potatoes cooked in butter.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't look at it as depriving myself anymore. I used to. I used to be like, oh man, I can't eat that. But now I'm like, you know what? I I am like addicted to feeling good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you're feeling good, you want to keep it that way, right?
Yeah. And if you can't do, for me, if you can't do 30 days, then do a week, see how you feel. And I bet you're going to be addicted to the same thing. You'll be like, oh my gosh, it's like the veil's been lifted.
Right.
So switching the oils, switching the sugars, lower the sugars, things like that. Huge. I can't say enough about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. Can you tell us if somebody wants to follow you, how they would find you? And we'll put it also in the notes.
Yeah, so I'm across all the platforms. It's the Humrich Home. And if that an anti-inflammatory lifestyle is something that like piques your curiosity, I've actually taken my entire experience and put it into a course with a cookbook and a meal plan. And it's like all tied up in a bow. And there's a community as well with hundreds of women already inside, like doing the same, sharing recipes, sharing stories. So I've kind of like made that into a pretty package so you don't have to think about it. But
Oh,
across all platforms, just the Humrich Home.
okay. And so they would be able to find that in there as well. Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful that your father figured out a way to get you all out of Cuba and that you're here. And do you have anything to say about, coming to the United States, in that way is
Yeah,
there
I'm so grateful. Like, I could not love this country more. I am free in this country, and I feel like sometimes people forget that we are so free, and like what a blessing that is. And so I never take that for granted. So I very often exercise my right to freedom because it is so like it's so apparent to me what not being free looks like, where you can't even say things that you believe. And so I'm just really, really grateful to live in a free country for sure.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Sandy. Praying for you and your family, and I just wish you the best on your health journey as you're moving forward. And thank you for sharing with us all the tips.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.